Good afternoon, or good evening, or good morning, depending on where you are dialing in from, and welcome to this webinar, which will take 60 minutes and introduce you to one of our most popular courses here at EMERITUS Digital Transformation, Platform Strategies for Success. For those of you who are not familiar with EMERITUS, let me give you a quick introduction. EMERITUS was set up by two alumni from leading global business schools, one from Harvard and the other from INSEAD on both sides of the Atlantic. And their vision, which is only approximately 5 years ago the business was set up, was to establish an online learning solution for those who wanted all of the benefits of a world-class executive education program, but without the need to travel across to the States or Europe in order to complete their studies. What followed was one of the great success stories in education technology. EMERITUS, which recently raised funding from Sequoia Capital to fuel the next stage in our very exciting growth journey, is the brainchild of the two founders and the partnerships with some of the leading business schools. You see three of those on the slide in front of you here: the MIT, Columbia Business School, Tuck, and there are various others that are not listed here, including INSEAD, including Berkeley, including a growing number of others that will shortly be announced. And the programs are designed in such a way that we take the learning content from these business schools and we develop a modular way of sharing these learnings with a global audience of people who want the quality of this learning and of course the accreditation that goes with that on their LinkedIn profiles, on their resumes, to progress their own careers. But as I said earlier, without the need to travel to the US or to Europe to do these studies. It's a very successful model, and we're very proud now in our 5th year to be launching ever more numbers of programs in order to meet the growing need of executives around the world for this level of education. Now, we believe at EMERITUS that learning, the most effective way of learning, involves a blend of different ingredients. Live webinars, which bring you face-to-face with the faculty, which are delivering these programs face-to-face in the respective universities and business schools. Videos, which of course allow us to present very succinctly and very quickly a lot of high-value, rich content, which can be found on the internet, can be downloaded as part of your learning program, and then used for your ongoing learning experience, but more importantly, then be shared and with other people you're working with and brought into your work life. And then the last piece, of course, you don't get something for nothing in this world. You need to earn the qualifications. So we have assignments which are graded by faculty, and only those who get the requisite scores get the accreditation and get the certificate at the end of it, and more of that to follow later. So it's this blended approach which is proving rather successful to the alumni who have been through our programs and to those who are considering joining up. And we thank you for considering EMERITUS as the next stage in your learning journey for this program. And when you sign up, you'll be getting access to the following information. You'll be getting bite-sized learnings. Now, we all know, as busy executives, that to take 6 months out and do a full-time program is very difficult for a lot of people. So we're juggling working with learning, and having a modular bite-sized way of doing this proves to be an effective way to do so. Real-world application. I'm going to share with you in a moment my credentials as a digital consultant and marketer and executive education facilitator. There's no way I'd be on this video now, there's no way I'd be doing this webinar and in my role if I didn't have hands-on experience of applying some of the digital principles to my clients' businesses on a daily basis. So this is not theory textbook stuff that you can get from a book or get from a YouTube video. This is blended learning, which allows you to take the very best principles and then apply them with relation to real world examples from the clients that we reference in global markets. Mobile application, of course, for a lot of us, we don't have the luxury of sitting in front of a laptop regularly. We all have access to a smartphone, to a tablet. So we have created ways of bringing these learnings to you that can be picked up on any device, any time of day or night. And of course, your smartphones allow you to process a lot of information very quickly, and we're presenting a presentation layer, a user interface, which makes that very easy. I've already talked about the credentials of the MIT, Columbia Business School, INSEAD, Dartmouth. These are world-class organizations, and you're getting world-class education as a basis of the qualification you'll be doing here. Our experience tells us that you can have a kind of teacher-learner relationship, but it's much more valuable and a much better simulation of the real world if you're learning peer-to-peer. So a number of our activities are broken into cohorts where you'll be working with other students, with other learners, and it's your reference to their materials and it's the combined work that you come up with in response to these assignments which provides a very successful formula and one which simulates the real world, where of course, often if we're working in multinational businesses, we're not able to sit around a table as we plan our solutions. We're more likely to be on a conference call or a webinar link, just like this. And so that provides a valuable real world experience, which simulates what you'll be doing afterwards. And cohort based, let's face it, how many platform solutions are you going to be building in isolation? By its very definition, a platform business requires multiple stakeholders and multiple partners. And so we'll be using that principle in the learning experience itself, which is very much cohort-based rather than individual-based. We'll be grading. We need to be very meticulous, and there's no way that we'd be running this business with Harvard and the MIT and the other guys if we didn't have a very rigorous process for grading and evaluating your work before you get the highly valued accreditation at the end of it. And we will be doing simulations. I mentioned simulations a minute ago, but the simulations also dive into the actual learning itself, and we have real world simulations and real world case studies which bring these principles to life. You are logged into Zoom. Zoom is one of various online video conferencing platforms, very successful and very easy to use. Just a couple of pieces of housekeeping before we get into the meat of this session. Please make sure you've got your mic on mute so we don't have any background noise interfering with the broadcast from here. If you want to be sharing in Q&A form and with your own contribution on a video link, feel free to start your video. If you're on a low quality connection or you're not on Wi-Fi or on 5G, 4G, then that may degrade your learning experience now. So only put your video on if you need to. But this platform allows for both two-way and one-way communication with audio and also with video. I can see how many people we've got on this call right now, and I can see also how many people will be making comments in the chat. And we will indeed be having a chat later and a Q&A where I'll welcome you to come up with any questions you may have on this program once I've got through the end of this content area. Just a quick intro on myself and what I'm doing. I'm one of the course leaders on this program. I do three things for a living. I'm a consultant, a digital consultant, a trainer, and an author. So in turn, the consultancy role, I'm the founder and chief exec of a business called Burn the Sky. We're a digital transformation consultancy. Businesses come to us looking for help with their transformation journeys, which takes various forms. And we've developed a number of different products and solutions to help them tackle different parts of their transformation, and indeed to map out a digital transformation program which they can then bring back into their organization. I'm the director of a business called This Place. This Place is a digital product design business. We come up with world-leading digital solutions, which could involve anything from re-engineering a customer experience and customer service journey for a big US telco, a global e-commerce solution for one of the world's biggest food retailers, and then on a smaller scale, we're doing one-off projects for pharmaceutical businesses, for example, to help them with their community engagement and community management programs. So a whole load of other stuff as well. I work these days almost exclusively outside the UK. You may have heard of this thing called Brexit, which has rather changed the landscape here, but I'm spending most of my time therefore in the Middle East, in India, in Pakistan, Singapore, Malaysia, further afield, which is where there's quite a lot of demand for what I'm doing. And you can see from the list here, American Express, Dubai Islamic Bank, HSBC, some big banks here, a number of retailers, John Lewis, M&S. We also work with telcos, with utility companies, telcos, Vodafone is the most recent project we're working on, and various other businesses. On the training side, I'm very proud to be working with EMERITUS now for my 4th year, running programs as a course leader on the digital strategies for business, digital marketing strategy, and a diploma course, which includes also the program that we're talking about today. I'm also a lead facilitator for Google and do a lot of work with Google on their C-level exec programs, and also deeper in some of the more niche areas around data-driven, programmatic, and brand activation labs. My deep expertise is in mobile. I've written 3 books on mobile best practice. Happy to share any of these if you're interested. The last one of which, updated in December, I was commissioned to update for one of my clients, e-consultancy, and that's a best practice guide for mobile marketing. We also do mobile strategy, and I've written a guide on mobile commerce. So that's where a lot of my expertise comes, and I bring these learnings into my training and into my consultancy work. So very happy to connect with you. Feel free to connect using one of those contacts at the bottom of the screen right there. I am not the most important person on this program, of course. I'm doing this introduction session, but the main man is Geoffrey Parker. Geoffrey Parker, who is your faculty at Dartmouth College, and the director of the engineering management program. He's a professor who working at the Thayer School of Engineering, and Dartmouth College is where he is based and running this program. He's a research fellow at the MIT in their Center for Digital Economy. He's also served in various roles, the Tulane Energy Institute, and for GE Africa, and a technical workforce on their advisory board. Geoffrey has carved out a niche for himself and a reputation as a major contributor in the area of platform business, the co-developer of the concept of 2-sided markets. You'll be very familiar with this as a customer of Amazon or of eBay, where there's one side of customers, one side of the platform is the customer, and the other side is the provider. So his initial thinking is something we all really understand, but he's built this into so much more now, what's become the essence of effective platform strategy, business platform strategy, where we're using technology and we're using data processes to build a whole new way of running a business. Energy, renewable energy is his sweet spot, but the principles about how to develop a platform business, and this is the heart of his book, co-author of Platform Revolution, How Networked Markets Are Transforming the Economy and How to Make Them Work for You, which he co-authored with Marshall Van Alstyne and Sangeet Paul Chowdhury. This becomes the, if you like, the textbook, the playbook which underpins the program that we're talking about today. So why, you may ask, with all the other courses out there, would you be thinking about taking this course, the Platform Strategy course? Well, you just look at the numbers, look at the research. It's very clear that networked markets, where we've got multiple contributors, multiple players in building a market rather than just two, a buyer and a seller, this is a model which is fundamentally transforming the economy and providing strategies for businesses to design, to monetize, and to build their own digital platform to cash in on this trend. 53% of execs lack the personnel and skills to bring a digital transformation which requires this understanding and these skills. So if you're early on in your career and looking to future-proof your career and make sure you are fit for new jobs, doing this course is going to be good preparation. If, on the other hand, you're running a business at the moment and you're needing to pivot and you're needing to change direction to take into account competition, then doing this program would be very valuable to make sure that you are steering the business in the right direction, setting the right strategy, setting the right commercials and the right safeguards to make sure that you are disrupting others rather than being disrupted yourself. Learning the fundamentals of digital transformation and understanding how to build market-leading solutions using this platform concept and how to actually transform your business from a traditional buyer-seller into a platform itself. And we'll teach you how to grow a digital platform, how to identify new opportunities to leverage that platform and innovate to keep your platform ahead of the competition. Look at the other stat on the chart here. $22.1 trillion will be spent on digital transformation. So having the skill of understanding the platform and how this is a core part of your transformation journey is rather important. Otherwise, how do you think you're going to be spending your budget most effectively? Understanding what you're doing is clearly what you should be doing before spending the money trying to do it. And then finally, this course will equip you with the knowledge on governing your platform, strategically evaluating your competition, and providing you with a futuristic view of digital transformation across businesses. It's critical that you understand not just how to build the platform in the first place, but how to make sure that your strategy takes into consideration the latest trends. And with so many shifts now from the regulatory world in terms of how data is captured and used, how you need to be respectful of legislation, government, and indeed global legislation around privacy and data usage, it's very important that you understand the principles and build those into your learning from the start. So let's just have a look at the course itself and break this down and understand how it all fits together. We have, and just excuse me 1 second because there's something I want to shift on this slide. There we go. So we have on our program here 8 modules of digital transformation, which become the pillars around which the rest of the course is built. We deliver a number of online learning experiences, which take the form of a webinar, just like this one, but focused on a specific area, one of the modules in question, include videos and include the assignments I've mentioned earlier. This is a fast-track program where we really require your commitment. You need to be allocating at least 4 hours a week to do the program, and you need to be doing this for the next 8 weeks. So a 2-month program, at the end of which you will receive a digital certificate awarded by Emeritus in collaboration with MIT Sloan. So what we want to try and achieve in these 8 short weeks is pretty ambitious, and a number of people who sign up for this program are very excited about each of these objectives, but we often get the question, well, how are you going to do all of this stuff in 8 weeks? Because there's an awful lot here. Let me just break this down for you. We want to make sure from the outset that you're able to take the learnings from this program into your businesses using language they understand and using principles which can be very easily ingested into the business. So we start by helping you define what is a platform business and distinguishing between the input suppliers and the markets on the one hand, and the various other partner players involved in the platform on the other side. And understanding how the platform business fundamentally is different from a traditional buyer-seller business. And we'll talk about some examples a bit later, which we use as part of our case study methodology to really bring these learnings to life. We help you recognize and know how to compete in a winner-takes-all market. One and two-sided networks and the context of multi-homing. Now, if you think about some businesses where there are two competing solutions, and the one solution is more is better at encompassing different players, different contributors in that market than another more one-dimensional business, then you realize very quickly that there will be a winner-takes-all scenario. Let's think about, for example, the IT solutions business solutions business. Take a business like SAP, for example. Now, SAP was a pretty ambitious business when they got started. They wanted to provide a whole network of business solutions to their clients. As the market matured, we saw entrants coming in offering competing solutions. What SAP needed to do was decide whether to stand alone with a fixed number of solutions to clients, or whether to bring in partners who had expertise in some areas, and then allow the partners to bring their skills and their solutions to a broader SAP community, and allow existing SAP customers to engage with the new partner, or whether to try and do all of it themselves. Now, SAP has succeeded in being tremendously successful because they've taken this holistic approach of bringing in partners and providing an all-encompassing solution where the partners provide some of that expertise without SAP needing to do it all themselves. We develop strategies for launching new platforms when critical mass is important. If you need to build scale very quickly, as of course so many digital businesses do, we'll give you examples of how to do that. Now, inevitably, there's going to be a trade-off here between building audience quickly, even though you may be loss-making in the first weeks and months, and then over time, monetizing that audience. I'm fascinated to see, and you may know this already, that Amazon only broke into profit 4 years ago. It's now become one of the most successful and profitable businesses of all. But Amazon realized they had to start by building audience and then monetizing the audience rather than wanting to monetize from day one. So we'll look at the importance of achieving scale and critical mass in order for the platform itself to be successful, which raises interesting questions about funding and working capital to get the business up and running and sustain it before it breaks into profit. We'll be teaching you how to plan, implement, and measure digital strategies integrated in your traditional marketing and business practices. Now, the issue is we're not asking you to change 180 degrees the orientation and direction of your business strategy, but more to bring digital in an integrated way, which allows you to keep some of the business as usual processes and keep some of your stakeholders, many of whom may be rather threatened by this new way of working, on board, rather than seeing them exit because you're taking a different direction. One of the biggest challenges for the C-suite is to find a way of keeping their existing stakeholders, who may be somewhat resistant to change, involved in the business, and encourage others who have more vision and more experience of these things, but are more junior on an organizational chart, and have them working collaboratively. That's a big challenge, and we address that on this program. We'll help you understand how traditional pricing models break down in the context of platforms and choose a different array of freemium, bundled and two-sided pricing models. Of course, if you want to get a customer on board and you expect them to pay from day one, you may be in for a nasty surprise. There are so many platform solutions. We're using Zoom.us here. I use an accounting package called Xero. There'll be various other Adobe products out there. Of course, there are a number of Google products out there which are free in the first instance and provided on a free basis in order to give you the confidence in the platform before asking you to start spending for a subscription to a premium version which provides more functionality and more interactivity. So this freemium model is very important to build confidence and of course build scale before you can then monetize that audience and the business that sits behind it. And then finally, we'll be helping you to gain insights into the impact opportunities of adopting platform strategies in different industries. I've talked about business solutions here. I've talked about creative solutions here. But of course, in a whole range of industries, whether you're talking about banking or telco or retail or media and entertainment or a whole range of others, there really is a need. Travel is an obvious example, travel and tourism. There really is a need to bring together different partners in order to provide an aggregated value solution. If you're simply wanting to provide one product and one service alone, you can very quickly risk becoming commoditized and taken out by a competitor that provides a more interesting value proposition, which includes other partners. So when we break this down, it fits quite neatly into these 8 modules. So just in turn. So the first one is really just setting the scene, understanding about digital transformation, how we move from a product to a platform, and the network effect, broadly what I've talked about just now. The second module looks at some of the big concepts around markets, around environment, around structure, and how we can identify the concepts and how the concepts work together in order to build out a business solution. The third one is a module that looks at different business models and how different business models work. This, of course, building on the point about audience versus monetization, is going to raise some interesting questions, I hope, about the different ways in which we can do this, but how the traditional business model just simply doesn't stack up in this platform networked environment. The next one's about launching and growing your platform. Of course, by launching the platform, you're only really at the start line of the race. And I use this analogy always when I talk about businesses building apps, building a native app. Just because you've built the app and you've got it in the App Store, it doesn't mean that you're anywhere close to being really successful. You've got to then make sure people are downloading the thing and then using the thing on a regular basis and referring it to others. So we need to develop a growth plan for your platform once it's launched. And we need to be thinking about open innovation. Ask yourself if you have a culture where the default position is closed, in other words, you only have access to information and to people and to data on a need-to-know basis, or whether your whole philosophy is completely different, open. I spend much time looking at the Google business, which I work with very closely, and where, interestingly, their default position is open. Everyone who starts working for Google from day one has access to the Google source code, which is driven into, and rather upon which so many of the Google products are built. And by having a sort of set to open way of working, there is not the problem incumbent in so many businesses where only the senior people have access to information and data and code, which therefore very much limits the ability of younger people to be productive fully, and also, more importantly, from a people operations perspective, fully engaged and more likely to stay with the business if they are only given a small amount of information with which to work and the decisions they can make on that basis. Governance is really important. It's never been more of an issue for for those in this GDPR world, and by GDPR I mean the General Data Protection Regulations, launched in Europe in May 2018, and now forming a blueprint for governments around the world who are looking to safeguard the data of customers, who ultimately are the arbiters of whether businesses can use their data or not. And it's very important that you as a business understand the regulatory framework, understand what you can and can't do, and make sure that you give your customers the confidence that they can easily opt out and they can demand information within 30 days about what you're doing with their data, what data you have on them, and therefore use that data to give them the confidence that they're engaged with a business they can trust, and a business which will not be monetizing their data by selling it to a third party without their permission. We then look at competition and how you can build a platform which is resistant to new entrants and allows you to build your own competitive advantage. And finally, we look at a futuristic view. Where is it going? What's the future of the platform world? And how can you see your business in 5 years' time, where there may be new entrants you've never even thought of as competitors, but who indeed are coming to effectively challenge your business. I find it fascinating, for example, that one of the greatest uses now of Alexa, Amazon's voice-activated assistant tool, is customers not simply wanting to buy a product, but actually wanting advice about what they should be buying, what sort of services and utilities. Hey Alexa, which is the best energy deal for me? Which is the best credit card product for me? In which case, the platform, the Amazon platform, is being used as a recommendation engine. And if your content is not easily accessible to that engine, you will not be considered as part of the competitive set that customer is wanting to access. So there's some very interesting trends. A lot of this is going to revolve around the technology and how the technology can be used to personalize the experience, and how that very technology can be used to create new business opportunities for you by creating ever better access to relevant and personalized data, which ultimately is a value proposition that if you don't develop it, your customers will. And again, look no further than Amazon in terms of providing a truly personalized service built on some very clever algorithms and very good predictive analytics to make sure that only the most valuable stuff is presented to you. So the learning journey does require quite a lot of hard work on your side. We will be running interactive lectures, 80 of those. We'll be having a number of discussions where we'll be encouraging you to network with the other people on the program, find out about their challenges and develop solutions in partnership with them. By the way, this is also a great networking opportunity that allows you to meet and connect with other professionals who could be in your markets or in your industries to provide long-term partnerships. I've facilitated many groups where I've seen alumni get together, develop their own businesses, and develop their own future career opportunities. We use assignments, and I mentioned earlier, we'll be making sure that you do get the requisite scores in your assignments in order to qualify for the qualification. We'll be using case studies. Of course, case studies are a fantastic way of building real insights based on real life examples. I'm sure you're familiar with a number of the Harvard business cases, very widely publicized now, that perform the real bedrock of so many MBA programs for students wanting to root the learning in real-time experiences. We do webinars like this one. We have a capstone project, which at the end of the program brings all of the learnings together into a single learning experience, which we evaluate closely. And then there'll be a textbook. I put optional in brackets because you don't have to buy it. But of course, if you're close to Jeffrey Parker's methodology and what's written in the book, you're going to be well placed to take full advantage of that. I've mentioned webinars. Let me just elaborate a little bit. We have an introduction by the course leader. It is the first one, and the course leader on this program, we'll do a kickoff where you'll all get to know him. The course leader in this program will not be me, it'll be one of my colleagues. And you'll also get a webinar which focuses on 2 case studies. One, Brightcove. Brightcove is a video streaming platform, which from the start had some pretty good functionality, but was then challenged by what has become the winner-takes-all solution, YouTube. YouTube, which was acquired by Google in 2005 and has since been proven as the go-to video platform, hosting a vast amount of content. We see 500 hours worth of content hosted onto YouTube every single minute of the day. We see 50% of activation of YouTube on mobile phones. So of course, we've got to use some quite clever technology to compress and then show this content to others. And finally, we have a solution, platform solution from SAP. SAP I mentioned briefly earlier, which had some quite interesting dilemmas about how to expand the platform and whether to be acquiring different contributors of different expert skills, or whether to be bringing them in as platform partners, providing that solution and allowing them to monetize the audience who used it. So the network effect takes hold. The sum of the parts is considerably greater than just having a number of different players working side by side. The assignments, we've got 5 of these, and you know, as a course leader, I have to say, you can tell very quickly the students who really want to excel in this program, who put effort into researching and then preparing their solution, their answers to these assignments, and those who really just want to do the bare minimum, they won't get best grades, of course. The idea is that we want to be testing different core learnings and core areas of expertise on the program. The impact of platform shift, first up. Number 2, look at 2-sided networks and where the strengths lie there, where the opportunities can be seen in the network effects, where we bring in more partners, the next one. We look at an example from Google Health and Microsoft Health Vault. So 2 different digital pioneers and the different platforms they built. And then finally transitioning from a platform, from a product to a platform. It's the last one there. Now, the debriefs are very important. A debrief is an opportunity for you to get feedback from your course leader on the assignments that you've done. Now, the trick is here, the course leaders, of course, are doing other things aside being course leaders on these programs. I've just explained some of the stuff I do for a living. So what we want to do is make sure that their time is used as effectively as possible. What we do, therefore, is we insist that if you get your assignment response in within a 1-week window, then the response will be included in the debrief session that your course leader runs. If you get in there after a week, then there isn't time to assimilate your response. There's a bit of an incentive there for your work to be featured in the assignment debrief, which is a good thing for you, but also a really good thing for the other people on the program to understand what you've come up with, and of course a great chance for you to build your reputation and your profile with fellow learners, which can be very useful for other things later on in the program. Your course leader will send out invites to each debrief and reminders as the date approaches. Of course, we're all very busy and we need reminders to help us get through this. Just before we get into the final sort of detailed stuff and take questions from you, a bit about the learning platform. This is what you'll be looking at. This is your dashboard. It's called Canvas, and Canvas allows you to set up your own account with your own profile information. We've got a dashboard where all of the learnings relevant to you can be accessed by you, so it's highly customized, and the course information, what the core program's about, the grades, the people, the modules, all listed as you can see on the screen here. We've also got a calendar feature where we can put invitations and events in your own diary, an inbox where you'll be getting emails from the course leader, from the faculty, from one another, and there'll be a help session as well where you can be getting any information online, or from the extremely fast and responsive support team based in India, who do a great job pulling all of this support together in multiple time zones. You really are not on your own. If you've got any problems at all, you really should be just jumping onto the help button. You'll find others have probably encountered the same issues, or indeed someone in the help desk who will come back to you. We also use Zendesk, which is one of the very best platform businesses in its own right. Zendesk, which allows us at Emeritus to be collecting and analysing and responding as fast as possible to any questions and any customer support issues that you may come up with. So 3 little bits of advice from a course leader who's been doing this for some time now. The first one is stay up to date. I find that the most effective uses of these programs by students is fully realized by being pretty disciplined about blocking off study time. Find a quiet place to study, make it part of your weekly routine. Please, please don't cram and leave it to the last minute. The danger in cramming and leaving it to the last minute is you really don't give yourself a good chance to properly consider some of the learnings. Often what comes at the moments of most value is times that may be slightly unexpected. Let me just ask you a question. How many times do you come up with your best ideas sitting behind a desk? You don't. You may be, walking to catch the train in the morning. You may be walking your dog. You may be in the shower in the morning. You may be, whatever you're doing. You often have your best ideas when you're not sitting behind a desk and cramming it. So if you allow yourself more time, you'll be finding that a lot of these concepts are working in your mind behind the scenes, and you'll have the best chance to realize that if you take more time across the program. Interact with your classmates and with the Emeritus team. You're not doing this in isolation. The very nature of platform business and digital is collaborative. You should be using this collaborative approach in your learning. Take advantage of the discussion boards. Make sure that you're sharing and learning with your classmates and not doing it on your own. Be proactive, reach out to them. If you feel like you're falling behind, you've got any problems about completion in time, simply go out there and ask for help. Don't suffer in silence. And put it into practice. The more you can apply the frameworks and lessons as you learn, the more valuable this will be for you. So there are a number of different tools, work management tools that you can be using. You should be using those in your studies and not simply going back to the old-fashioned do it in a book or do it on a screen without taking advantage of some of the learning tools we can share with you. So before we get into the questions, just a couple of last slides here. So the demographic stuff about you. There's 300 people on this program with you from 35 countries around the world. This is one of our highest figures in terms of the number of markets that we've got, which is great news because it shows that there's a lot of skills and a lot of expertise from different parts of the world. And what we see often is, while in the groups, people tend to organize themselves in time zones, working in close proximity, so they can be studying at the same time. We see real depth here in terms of the sheer number of markets where we've got people engaged. So there's a lot of participants you can see there from Asia. You see in South Asia, a big portion from India, a big portion from the Middle East. You can see the UAE and Saudi represented there. Further east, you can see we've got Thailand, we've got Australia there. And then on the other side, we've got a very healthy contingent from LATAM, so Brazil, the biggest portion, 20%. Also, we've got Mexico, we've got Chile, we've got Canada, we've got the USA, and then Europe. Actually, Europe rather underrepresented here, with Switzerland the biggest player, Germany and the UK with 4% each. So a really multinational group on the program. Also a group with a lot of work experience. Now the great news here is that this isn't really a place where we've got people in their first jobs coming. all of you on this program will have got quite a lot of work experience. Just look at this. 24% between 11 and 15 years, 30% between 16 and 20 years, 28% over 20 years. So there's a lot of work experience here. 58% of participants will have over 15 years of experience. This is great news because it means that we are all familiar, not just with actually working in an office and working for a big business, but understanding also some of the stuff that does get in the way, things that stop us from innovating, bring in new collaborative ways of working. And if you're working with like-minded people who have a similar appreciation of the challenges, that's going to be a better learning experience for everyone. In terms of industries, again, you can see a pretty healthy split here across consulting, banking and finance. What else have we got? The next big ones are healthcare, education, retail. These are all sectors I spend a lot of my time working in here, but also other sectors. We see industrial goods, we see media, we see advertising, and of course telco is an important one here. So again, a very broad range of industries. I think what's important here is you understand some of the best ideas in digital can be imported from other sectors, and a platform solution that works very well in telco might quite easily be refined to work very well in healthcare or in media. So the principles are the same, but the way they're applied is different. And if you've got the work experience to understand what you can adapt and what regulatory things get in the way, or that's going to affect your governance, then you're going to be in a good position to make the most of the program. Finally, the nuts and bolts of it here. So the program fee, $1,500 US. Government state tax if you're based in Singapore, where our business is headquartered. Flexible payment options, either a one-off payment, or we can do this in 2 or 3-part installments, and the dates are there where we basically break this down to make it easier for you to fund the program, particularly if you are self-funding. We start our next program on the 14th of August, so that's just 8 days away. And we also give you right up to the last minute to make up your mind. So if you need to get funding lined up, you've got 8 days to do it. The last date for closing applications is on the 14th of August. We'll be running this course again in a couple of months if you're unable to get your funding in place before then. At the end of it, this is what you'll be getting, a qualification from the MIT and Emeritus, and it will be signed by both organizations. So this is something which you'll be putting on your LinkedIn profiles, you'll be getting on your own resume. You may be wanting a physical version of this you can put above your desk at work. Now, this has different value to different people in different markets, but it's clear recognition that the digital transformation platform business is something that you are qualified to be a practitioner of in your business, and also a ticket to either get promoted or to move to another job with the requisite skills that requires. Talking of network effect, the Emeritus Network is extremely powerful in helping you in a whole load of obvious ways to get assistance on your tuition program as you're actually going through the 8 weeks themselves. Also a really valuable way of building your career opportunities, connecting with a global alumni of Emeritus learners, and you've seen 35 countries on this program, similar numbers on others. And then also events, global events, a startup corner for funding if you want to start up your own business, a whole range of other programs that we offer at Emeritus, and access to other Emeritus groups. So there's real value in sharing ideas and developing them and raising funds and finding new people to help work with you on your next great platform idea. So with that, I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to go into the chat. Shall jump in the Q&A first and get some questions here, and then we'll move over to the chat. So Daniel here, can you give some examples of previous capstone projects. So the capstone projects link to the course content that we run. So there will be a topic or indeed an industry that we ask you to focus on. And then in the capstone, you'll be applying the 8 modules that we learned during the program that link to that business. We do ask you to suggest which businesses you want us to focus on for your capstone, but we need to align on a fixed number of businesses as we have you working together on these projects. So I don't have a list of the companies right here, but it will be based on previous businesses, and they will represent the different sectors that the participants are working in. Cesar, what should I expect will be my level of classmates, senior, mid-level managers? Well, I think, Cesar, just go back to the previous slide where I showed the amount of work experience that learners have got. You can see these are people who have been working, a lot of them, for over 15 years. That to me indicates they're going to be senior level executives. There may be some fast track mid-level managers in that group who have been working less, but you've got to believe that they are in their positions of their career positions early because they're high potentials and they will be wanting to stretch themselves. So this is not a kind of junior thing at all. This is for people who have valuable business experience but need to pivot their businesses based on the principles that we apply here. Are the classes delivered in real time or on demand? If real time, what is the schedule for the live classes? Great question. So we tend to run the live classes at approximately this time. It's 2 p.m. UK time, or we're on summertime now in the UK, so it would go back to 1 p.m. But if you're in the US, it's 9 a.m. in the morning now. When it's winter time, that will also be 9 o'clock. So we'll just simply shift the hour as the summertime moves off. But we do it in the middle of the day UK time, which is the evening if we have learners in Asia, and the morning, but 9 o'clock in the morning for people on the East Coast. So it's the time zone which most conveniently suits the vast majority of learners. Javier, I've seen some programs you ask for an English certification. I don't hold any, although I have full understanding of the language and I have a working knowledge of English over the last 8 years. I have no time to enroll in a TEFL program. How could I have this requirement revised? I would get in contact with the support team, Javier, and you'll get an answer from them. If you've got a proficient level of English knowledge, spoken, but also some written English, then that would be a requisite to do the program. I've done a number of programs where we have got people who clearly are non-native English speakers, speak with, in some cases, quite a thick accent, but they understand the concepts. So I think, Javier, I think that having just read your message here, you've got a very good command of the written language. I don't think it would be a problem, but if you have concerns, please do talk to the support desk. I'm just going to jump into the chat now and see if we've got any additional questions here in the chat. Also from Javier, maybe a different Javier, I'd like to know if this course is the recommended one for an introduction into digital transformation in general, being mainly centered on platforms. Yeah, there are other programs, Javier. I'd say if it's a sort of genuine introduction to digital, you might want to be looking at the digital marketing strategies course, where we have a different faculty lead, Professor David Rogers of Columbia Business School, and that program is more foundation-led and more based on the customer and the importance of understanding the customer and building relationships with your customer rather than platform. But it really depends on exactly what you're looking to do. And I would talk to the support desk and compare each of those programs. Digital Strategies for Business, another great program. But again, I'd go on the website and talk to the support team to assess your learning needs and then align those with the relative strengths of each of those programs. Can we see your contact details once again at the end of the presentation? I would say I don't have, I can put my details back on the slide at the very end, at the beginning. I don't have another slide at the end, but I'll do that once I've finished taking the questions. So, Retour, we've got join late. Are there any ESTC units for the course, European Credit Transfer System? I don't know is the answer. Talk to the support team and they will answer that question for you. Anthony, what's the difference in this course and the Digital Strategies course? Good question. Digital Strategies is really focused on how you need to look at the different areas of digital transformation aligned to your value proposition around to data and the value of your data and unlocking the value of your data and different monetization techniques. This is really focused on building a platform business, a multi-sided platform business, which transforms your business from a pure two-sided buyer-seller to a more integrated, collaborative business. Now, there is some similarity, although the faculty leaders are different and the modules are different. My advice to you, Anthony, is jump on the website, have a look at the modules and compare and contrast and assess which one is right for you. A number of our learners do more than one course. They do one. They realize actually they like the learning experience. They want to find out more. Maybe they want to experience a different faculty leader, and then they switch, they do the second one next. Alternatively, we run a diploma program where you can do all three of the programs together in a 9-month program. That is the Digital Transformation Platform program, this one, the Digital Marketing Strategy program, and this Digital Strategies for Business, all in a 9-month period. But again, my advice is please, Anthony, talk to the support team for more information. How much time is realistic needed per week? As I mentioned earlier, Colin, 4 hours a week should be the minimum. If you extend that to 6, then you will be in very good position. But if you can't do 4 hours, I would question whether you should be doing this program. Request all put your queries over Q&A box, say Emeritus. Just 2 more before we hit the hour and we're out of time. From Geeta, would we have access to recorded webinars in case we miss them? Yes, great question. All the webinars and all the sessions, the live sessions, are recorded. And if you miss them, you can go online and then listen to them again, as you would expect in any online learning platform experience. If you can't make it for whatever reason, yes, indeed, you can listen to the recording, and a lot of people do. A lot of people attend live and they listen to the recorded session to see if they missed anything as we were going along. Do you think the program is the best fit for professionals who are doing consulting for business, who would like to transform their business rather than for people who would like to build a platform themselves? Sabir, the answer is both. The Platform Solutions program is attended by both consultants. In fact, the largest single cohort by sector is consultants. And so I think that should answer your question. It would work for both. Can you do the 3 courses separately and then get the diploma at the end? No, Colin, if you're going to get the diploma, you need to do them all as part of the diploma program, although the courses themselves are an aggregate of the 3 separate courses. So I think that is all the questions. Circles postgrad. So we've got another one here from Tio. Considering this course or the postgrad diploma platform is also covered in the PG course. Yes, Tio, you're absolutely right. This course is one of the 3 modules in the diploma program. You need to decide how much time you've got available and whether you wish to do all 3 in one go. you spread it out over more months, but of course there is more content to go through. So that's really your call. Finally, I have less than 5 years. Is this course good for me? I'd say, anonymous attendee, if you are a fast learner and you are keen to develop your career quickly, feel free to give it a go. I would say you should be, what you lack in experience, you need to make up for in curiosity, and just be cognizant that the other people on the program will have more experience, and that should make sure that the sort of questions and interactions you have are aligned to their expectations as well, so you feel like you're sort of plugged into the same learning experience. But I'm sure if you've got the right mindset and the right approach, then you're going to be well set for this. So as requested, those are my contact details again. I've very much enjoyed delivering this session. Thanks for all of your questions. And as we're on the hour, let me wish you all a good day, happy learning, and we hope to join all of you on the program starting in just 8 days' time. And if you can't do this one, then feel free to see when the next one starts, or one of the other programs that we've just discussed: digital strategies for business, digital marketing strategy, or the diploma that combines all three. So with that, thank you again, and I will sign off now. Thank you.